Hey guys, I'm Nox.
And I'm Kavya.
And together this is
We are
Navia's Culture Cafe.
We're super excited to have you all back for another video.
Yeah, woo, woo, woo.
So today we are going to be doing a pop culture summer 2023 rundown, just kind of talking about all the things at least we thought were super relevant and big talking points this summer. Because of the amount of content that we've decided to talk about in this video, we're going to split it up in two. So this is the first part. So if there's anything that you guys were like, where's that one? Maybe it's to come. Unless we excluded it altogether, but...
Yeah, this summer we were definitely Twitter fiends, spending hours a day, so we like to think we were versed, and we may have been too versed, so we had to definitely pick and choose what we'll talk about, but hopefully we'll cover the right topics.
Yeah, okay, so let's get into it.
Yes.
Our first topic is Barbenheimer.
Of course, like the biggest thing that happened this summer.
The biggest thing to happen in movies, for sure.
100%.
Movie event of probably the last several years. I don't think we've had like a surge like that where it was so big.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like
I feel like it's like most recently was like Avengers Endgame was the only movie that could compare to it.
Yeah, there's been so much discussion about the movies just like no longer existing in 20 years, like no one going to the movies anymore, especially because streaming services like Disney Plus I know is doing it, and I think Max is doing it too. Any movie that comes out within like that under them is available to watch if you just pay a little extra on the day it releases. So there's no point in even going to the movies anymore. You can just pay a little extra and watch it the day it comes out, but you can just watch it from your basement. So that has actually caused a lot of dropping in a lot of, movie theater sales in the last couple of years. So I think like this just kind of brought it all back, which is kind of exciting.
It is exciting. So in hindsight, now that all of this is done, do you think Barbie or Oppenheimer ended up winning the fight?
Barbie.
100%.
But Oppenheimer, as I see the stats rolling out, is actually also really close to $1 billion. Like.
Oh yeah, they are almost tied. Yeah, so I think it's crazy, honestly, how much Oppenheimer lived up to the Barbie hype, in my opinion. I really thought it was going to be a slideshow. Barbie was going to 100% win, and even though I do think Barbie won, Oppenheimer stood its ground in a very surprising way.
I think like it's a lot easier for Barbie to be the winner here just because of how much more of an audience that appeals to. That's like kids want to go see it, adults want to go see it, everyone in between wants to go see it, versus Oppenheimer's to a very specific crowd. So for that kind of, we have to give it credit, like a biopic doing that well at the box office in today's day and age is just absolutely insane. Like movies like that just usually don't go anywhere.
Yeah, and the fact that it wasn't even an interesting biopic, like I walked out of that movie and I told Kavya, I feel like we literally just sat there and watched men sit there and talk, and somehow I was completely invested the whole time. So good for them.
So it worked, especially making a movie 3 hours long too. Like, this is a long movie.
And I'm not saying they couldn't have cut some things because, but overall quite surprising, honestly.
Yeah. All right. So our next topic is, I'm just going to put it under scandalous relationships or affairs of the summer. So we're going to talk about Ariana Grande and Ethan Slater first. Okay, thoughts?
Yeah, well, before I knew Kavya, I was quite the Arianator. She was kind of my obsession, some might say. So I was kind of around for her earlier relationships. But kind of lost interest, kind of for the reason that she's getting so much hate, just because she kind of fucks relationships up, like...
See, because here's the thing, is that everyone just wants to jump on this case and be like, like, this always happens, like, women are blamed, and I agree, that always happens. The woman is the one blamed for being the other woman in the relationship, when a lot of times there's a lot of factors that go into that, whether they didn't know or they thought that these other two people were breaking up, and that is a case a lot of the times. But in this case, we've seen a pattern, having watched Ariana Grande have a career for the last over 10 years, that this is the 4th time this has happened. So it really is a bad look, especially considering, like, this guy was in a happy married relationship for several years and just welcomed his first kid like a year ago. Like, that's so sad.
Yeah, and it is so sad. And like Kavi and I are like hardcore feminists, and like honestly, it kind of feels degrading to women to be like, oh, she's a woman, so we can't blame her. Like, no, we're not fighting for like women to never get blamed. We're fighting for women to get equal rights, you know. And she has a track record, and I think that is something that's important to acknowledge.
It's important to acknowledge because it's like, obviously, like people like her are setting examples for other people, especially to a lot of young people.
Yeah.
And to like push that narrative or any of that, and that doesn't mean that Ethan shouldn't get blamed. Like, obviously, he was the one that was in the relationship. He was the one that just had a child, and I think a lot of people, like, you know, who are upset about Ariana Grande being the one that's jumped on also have to realize that Ariana and Ethan are not on the same level of fame. Like, of course Ethan isn't going to be talked about as much. It's not just because women are blamed.
Right.
It's because he's so irrelevant compared
Literally,
to her.
he was just SpongeBob, like,
right,
okay.
She's Ariana Grande. Like, of course it's way bigger of a scandal. Like, if people on Twitter are like, Ethan Slater cheated on his wife, most people are gonna be like, who? But Ethan Slater cheated on his wife with Ariana Grande. They're like, oh my gosh, Ariana, what? Like, that's gonna be the scandal here.
Yeah.
So, and I think, like, a lot of people are also looking back on just all the things that we just excused about Ariana Grande, and a lot of it's just being taken a lot more seriously.
Yeah, and I feel like she definitely is an industry veteran, and it's just kind of disappointing because she should know by now, you know?
Yeah.
All
right.
So yeah.
Yeah, on the same topic, let's talk about Taylor Swift and Maddie Healy.
There's nothing to talk about.
There's, like, nothing to say. Should we move on?
Alrighty, moving on from them.
We have nothing to say about it, basically.
We really don't, because it just didn't happen.
It just did not happen.
And I think it's just kind of rude.
I also think there's so much just cloud around it that it's hard to really know what exactly happened, you know? Especially because just no one addresses any of it. Like, Taylor Swift does not...
Which, yeah duh, like... You know what, maybe they were just having some fun, and I can understand, but...
Yeah.
That's all, and there's no need to get your panties in a bunch over it.
Move on. Alright, let's talk about the Lizzo scandal.
Let's. So guys, this was a heavy day for me, and therefore Kavya, because Lizzo she was my girl. She was my everything. I saw Lizzo on her special tour twice in concert. I saw her back in September, and in September of 2022, I got to be barricade front row for the tour, and at one point she literally told me that she loved me, which made me pass out. I was literally so excited, and it was such a good experience. And then the second time was this past May 2023, when Kavya was able to join me, and we also brought one of our good friends, Addison, and all three of us went together for Kavya's birthday, actually, and it was a spectacular time. We were a little bit farther up, which meant, you know, we had seats, so we had our own space, and we could dance around, and it was just such a good time. I, like, know every word, every little song. Like, she is someone I keep up to date with just so heavily, but she really disappointed us. I loved Lizzo because I liked her music, but more because I needed someone in my life who I could look up to, who loved themselves and who loved others just as much. And that was the brand Lizzo created, and I really trusted it, honestly. So finding out that a lot of that was probably a lie was pretty awful. But, you know, they haven't gone to trial yet. We're still just kind of in the period between, like, accusations and, like, things actually happening. So, we'll see what happened. But these accusations are heavy. Yeah.
They are heavy. And honestly, like, I'm one to fully believe the victim until there's there's a reason to not, like, as much as I am a fan, like, I was a fan of Lizzo and I really loved her, like, I can't just blindly take her side when such serious accusations are coming to the forefront, especially because, like, it's shocking that it's Lizzo, but it's not shocking that people are two-faced, and it's not shocking that, you know, people are completely different, especially in that world behind, like, outside of what you see. So
Yeah.
it's very shocking, however, like, it's kind of just waiting. I feel like a lot of people who aren't gaining anything out of this, whether that be people who are not involved in the lawsuit coming out, I feel like that speaks a lot of volumes, and a lot of people who are defending Lizzo might be like, oh, well, you know, they're gonna get the social praise and that, but the people involved in this trial said that 4 additional people came forward and did not want to be mentioned at all. So that, you know, kind of, there's absolutely no gain there.
Yeah, and for those who aren't like quite up to date on what the accusations are, it's a lot of just like gross sexual things that happened, really bad treatment while on tour, and just overall take Lizzo's brand and opposite it. And yeah, so when I told my family about it, they asked me, they were like, well, you know, are you still gonna listen to her music? And I think that question kind of weighed on me because I think Lizzo is her music, and there are a lot of people in this music industry who I don't really think they're great people, but I do listen to their music because it's art. But I don't think I can do that with Lizzo's music because it's all her message and it's all exactly what she's trying to put out into the world, and so the fact that that's just all a lie, it just doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, so it's just hard. So we'll kind of
definitely the hardest pop culture moment of the summer. For me.
So that's something like this is just gonna sit in. Maybe we'll revisit months later.
We'll see.
But yeah, something that's just kind of up in the air right now. There's it's a hard topic, but. All right, let's move on to the next thing. We're gonna talk about The Summer I Turned Pretty in the current season, which is the second one.
Yeah, so I didn't end up finishing season 1. I'm not good with slow shows, but Kavya...
That is such a hot take by you to not be watching The Summer I Turned Pretty right now.
I know, what can I say?
I read the books in middle school, so this was part of like that phase of my life where I was getting super into like this genre of book. Like this is what I'd read, this was my thing. So I was excited when the show was announced. I was excited for the creative control that Jenny Han, who wrote the books, was going to have. Like I was excited that she was going to be the director, which is always something that I feel like a lot of book to movie / show adaptations fall short on. They don't have as big of a role as of the writer who wrote the book in, you know, their involvement. So I think it's great that she has pretty much all the creative control. I think that really helps it stay as true to the book as possible. I mean, most of the characters look exactly the way I always pictured them to be, you know, very honest. Like, they're exactly the way they're described in the book. Despite, like, obviously differences to keep it a little bit more modern and a little bit more real to today. Like, Belly in the books is white and she's not.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, and she's not in the show.
That's actually crazy.
So there's like minor differences like that, but I think they all stay very true to like the way they're described. The second season, definitely not as good as the first in the sense like I'm very heavy on Team Conrad. This is a very like hard season for Conrad, so that's just so boo. He's never a bad like he's not a bad person this season. It's just like this is his mental health struggle season. So it's not exactly a win situation for them as a couple, but we're getting there, and I'm not going to say anything, but he's a lot better for her in season 3, so or I guess book 3, so unless she just switches up and decides to be different. But yeah, that's kind of my opinions.
Yeah,
I mean, the finale airs tonight for the season.
Really?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
So, I don't have like a final conclusion say on it, but so far, it's pretty good. I mean, it's like the definition of a teen drama. Super like
oh yeah,
kiddish, but I appreciate them looking their age though. That's something I can always appreciate.
It
Like
is
they
nice.
look young,
They really
which is
do.
nice.
Yeah, next up we have the Taylor's version announcements and release. So we got to experience Speak Now and 1989 Taylor's version announcements while she was on her first US leg of the Eras Tour, and we actually got Speak Now released over the summer, so lots of exciting stuff.
Yeah, so I think like the best way to just get through these, let's both give our favorite Speak Now change, like from the original Speak Now to the new Speak Now, like what our favorite and what our least favorite was, and then let's both give our top, and there's only 6 vault tracks, so your 2 favorite.
2 favorite. Alright, well, I think that the best change, and it's actually not even in my top 3, but I think Back to December sounded so good, but also Long Live. I mean, just like that song with a grown-up Taylor singing it is so special and sweet. Yeah, I can definitely see why she didn't want to sing it on tour until it was released.
Yeah. My favorite change was either Speak Now, the song.
So good.
Or, again, Long Live, because it's a grown-up Taylor. Or Innocent. Isn't that one line where she goes 32 and still growing up now, like, the most...
Yeah,
moment?
when we like listened to that and then like connected the pieces together, we were like, this is crazy
Like, how
that
did
32-year-old Taylor is singing this right now.
Like, how did she release a song saying 32 still growing up now when she was 19? Like, how did she just know? Anyways.
Numbers just work out for
They
her.
really
They
do.
really do.
And then your top 2 vault tracks.
Yes.
Oh, I guess we didn't do our least favorites. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
My least favorite, I guess the Better Than Revenge, I'm sure it
That's
is
mine,
for
yeah,
you, yeah.
100%.
I understand the moral of the lyric change, but I think something that everyone needs to keep in mind is that the whole song is slamming the other girl. Like, y'all pushed her to change one lyric, like, if y'all were so against shaming the women, like,
where was
why don't
the push?
we just scrap the whole song then? Like,
There was no push because there was no backlash over this. There was actually backlash over the lyric change. I'm very against it. Yeah, if you're going to like not push, then just don't release the song. Which it's an okay song. Like we all were angry. It's in the past. Just like give
she
me
wrote
the
it
mattress
as a teenager.
line.
Like sometimes an angsty teenager needs to listen to a song like that.
We've
like,
all done things that we regret. Like
right, it doesn't mean it's not like a formative part of growing up and feeling those feelings. So
for real.
yeah. Anyways, that like may or may not be a hot take, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, according to Twitter, it's not. So I think we're fine.
All right, top 2 vault tracks.
Top vault track is 100% Foolish One.
Mine too. We have the same top 2 vault tracks.
I think so, yeah. I absolutely adore that song. It's just so cute. It's so Speak Now, and it's so well written. I'm obsessed.
Yeah. My favorite is also Foolish One, and then my second is Castles Crumbling.
Mine too.
So,
Yeah.
I think it's such a good opposite to Long Live. Like, having them both on the album is so beautiful,
So
actually.
perfect.
Like, Long Live's about building the castle up, and Castles Crumbling's obviously about it all falling down, so.
And
sad
I
stuff.
loved Hayley Williams' feature on that. She sounded so good on her verse.
Right.
was
I think,
obsessed.
like, she had good features. Like, obviously, like, Fall Out Boy was, like, when I first saw that, I was like, this is gonna be interesting, but it worked for a song like Electric Touch, so I think she did a good job.
Yeah, so the announcements were just so fun. I think I would say Speaking Out and 1989, the fandom was knowledgeable. It was not a surprise.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like for Speak Now, we all saw them putting the purple lights on the bridge for Nashville because they ended up lighting up the bridge purple for Speak Now. And so when we saw that, we kind of confirmed it.
Yeah.
And then 1989...
Hints upon hints upon hints.
SoFi Stadium quite literally posted a picture with a beach stand that said 1989 on it.
Yeah.
So I don't
And,
know
like,
if she thought it was a surprise, because it definitely wasn't.
Yeah, I definitely don't think she did. Like, I mean, she has to be someone. I mean, even if she's not, her team's on social media. They knew everyone was expecting it. I think also, like, a small part of them, like, if for whatever reason she wasn't planning to do an announcement, she kind of was obligated to. Like, everyone and their mother was anticipating it. If she went out and performed and did not announce 1989, like, that would have been the shock.
Yeah, but I'm so sure she, like, that took planning. It was kind of crazy because she ended up doing 6 shows at SoFi Stadium over a week. And the way that she made us wait until the 6th night, we were on our Zoom, as some Beyonce fans say, because we needed to know, and ruin our sleep schedules for this woman.
Yeah.
Don't regret it, though.
Yeah. I'm so glad the Eras Tour is going to be back in a hot second here. Anyways, so we have 2 tours to talk about in this part of the video. So we're going to talk about Harry Styles' Love on Tour concluding, and we're going to talk about Beyonce's Renaissance Tour. So starting with Harry Styles, for those of you who aren't familiar, Harry has been on tour, like Love on Tour, this tour for years now. Like
It's
this,
been Yeah,
Like,
so
this
long.
man, you can tell his passion. Like, I'm sure he loves releasing music, but his passion is performing the music, not... He's in no rush to be getting new music out there, new albums out there. He just loves singing. So...
Yeah. Yeah, and it's honestly cute. He's just so good at performing and connecting with his fans.
Yeah.
It was such a great tour.
Love on Tour was so icon, but in all reality, I'm so ready for a new era. I'm so ready to kind of get into the new phase, whatever that's going to be, because I feel like Fine Line and Harry's House blended completely together because he was on tour during both those albums, that no one can really be like, oh, Love on Tour is a Fine Line tour. Or
like Love on Tour's set list was this.
Right,
Like,
it's so mixed. So I just am
changed.
really excited for him to go into a completely different era, because I can only really distinct like Harry Styles, the self-titled first album, from the other two. So I'm excited to have him move on to his next era and kind of whatever that's going to be. So I'm excited. I think
totally
this is a good thing, even though I would have loved to go on Love on Tour. We didn't, but like
We
honestly,
tried so hard.
this like coming back, like a new era coming, means that we'll probably be able to get tickets to the next tour. So
He will not stay off tour for
yeah,
long.
so
Yeah.
that is exciting. And then the Renaissance tour. So we actually had tickets.
We were gonna go to the August 6th show in DC, but unfortunately my family vacation ruined it.
So we did not end up going. But like, so we cannot really speak on this any kind of firsthand. But the tour looks amazing.
It does look amazing. I'm very interested in her choice of the lack of visuals. Honestly, I feel like, you know, the only good seats are seats like completely facing her, and if you're on the sides or in the back, like it's just listening, which is fun, which is such a great time, but her prices aren't reflecting that.
Right. I think like a big criticism that I've seen is just the ticket prices. I mean, like, for example, and not to add to like the comparing narrative or anything, so I'm about to compliment the hell out of this tour after I say this.
Oh, 100%.
I, like, the amount of money that Knox and I paid for each of our tickets, we only paid like $100 extra for where we sat during the Taylor Swift concert, which was not at all comparable.
Our Beyonce tickets were the last row of the stadium, and our Taylor Swift tickets were in like the section 100 lower bowl, and the price was crazy.
Yeah, there was only a $100 difference between that. So I think, like, obviously that's not Beyonce's fault. Like, she's not the one making these prices.
But then again, we have to remember that the Beehive is loyal, and it is a fandom unlike any other. And I think that's why this tour is, one, so special, but two, so different. Like, she knows she doesn't need visuals because she knows her Beehive is going to be back there listening, and she knows that no matter what she does, she is going to please them, you know?
Yeah, and Renaissance has just been so different from any album she's released.
And I love it.
So it's very different. So I'm glad the tour is going successfully, and obviously her, like, everyone has really processed the album well, and I love the album, and I totally wish we could have gone.
Good.
But
yeah,
hopefully, despite like kind of some rumors, she will tour again. So at some point in our lives, we can see her.
Yeah, so I think, like, her outfits on this tour has been crazy.
For me, the best part has been the outfits and, like, all the things she just rides onto the stage. I think it's so iconic. I think it's so cool. I just cannot imagine the money that must have gone into putting this tour together. It's so high quality.
It really is.
So
I love that she brought Blue out to dance. I think that is so cute, and it just shows, like, how quote-unquote unserious she is now. She's just enjoying the fandom and the fame and the career she's made for herself, and I just really love it.
Really awesome. I just think it's such a cool aesthetic of a tour.
For sure.
All good things.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the writers and now actors strike that we have going on that started coming about this summer.
I know, I feel like it's been going on the whole summer, honestly. Yeah.
What a wild thing to happen. I am so insanely curious how this is going to affect the movie and television industry.
Yeah, I'm just so surprised that it hasn't kind of grown. I feel like they kind of all went on to strike, and we've kind of been holding our breath to see how the industry was gonna react, and the industry just hasn't reacted yet.
Right.
And so I'm just waiting, and I feel like the longer that we wait between, like, us seeing the effects, just the worse the effects are gonna be, you know?
It's just really crazy, like, how long we're gonna have to wait for everything. I mean, everything that has already had a set, this is the date it's coming out, those are the only things we're getting, because they already said, oh, this is coming out on September 8th, they're still gonna release it on September 8th. But literally anything and everything else has been pushed, so we are probably just gonna be waiting, in, like, once we get, like, this last, probably up until maybe next spring, most likely just the fall. Once we get past that, like, we are just going to be waiting indefinitely for new content of anything. So I'm very curious to see, like, once we get past this phase, like, how this is going to affect the industry, because literally nothing's going to be coming out. And when no one's making money, hopefully people who are executives that are the problem here will kind of take all that into consideration and reassess, reevaluate. So we'll kind of see what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm honestly just upset that it ends with us with Blake Lively isn't working out, but I still have hope for that, I'm not gonna lie.
I'm upset that Stranger Things Season 5 is just never coming. It's coming.
Oh, it's coming,
but it's coming,
nah,
like, they were already like, oh, it's coming out in 2027. On top of this actor strike, it's coming out in 2035. Like, we do not need a show that's only 5 seasons long running for 10 plus years. Like, they are supposed to be, like, last season, they were freshmen or sophomores in high school. All of these actors are about to be 25. Like, what was so cool and unique and special about the show was that they all were, like, 11 in the first season, 10, 11, 12. And now they're all, like, slowly, like, reaching into their 20s. Some of them are already 20, 21, and 22.
Mm-hmm.
So they're only getting older. I don't even know.
I know.
And I'm sure all of them want to move on to the next thing in their life. But
yeah, for sure. Because they're known as
Stranger
they are Stranger Things, and of course they want to build more of a name for themselves.
Right.
So I feel bad.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Olivia Rodrigo's album Guts, that announcement, and the 2 singles we've got from this new Olivia Rodrigo era.
How new of an era is it?
We're gonna keep this as tame as we possibly can, just to not, like, get trampled, but
we're not huge fans.
Yes. I am not a super big Olivia Rodrigo fan, in contrast to pretty much most of the people I know / most of the people on the internet. I'm not a big fan. We really don't need to get into Olivia Rodrigo breakdown here. We're gonna try to keep it just to the album and the singles.
I'm someone who I really like her as a person. I'm just not a really big fan of her art.
Yeah, I think, like, my main criticism is I just don't understand what, like, the longevity of this career is going to be on the brand that she's built. I think from an artistic and management point of view, I just don't see how this is going to work past being a teenager. And a lot of people are like, well, she's a teenager now, though, so it doesn't matter what she changes to. But now that her second album seems like pretty much a carbon copy, just maybe a little edgier than the first one, I mean, that's 2 eras you're doing that are pretty much the exact same, so it's going to be harder to break out of that and to form something outside of it. I think, like, when she's 30, I don't think she's just gonna want to be singing back on, like, the angstiest music of all time, So, yeah,
I totally agree. I think it's kind of odd how both albums' colors are purple. I think that's a really big thing in kind of the Gen Z era, is, like, kind of associating colors with your albums and album covers, and I don't know why they're both purple. I don't know why they're both trying to be edgy, teenager. I mean, like, we just got, what was it, Bad Idea, right, is the name of the song? Isn't that just brutal, but in, like, a different color?
I think, like, a lot of people on the internet that I've seen, at least on my side of Twitter, have been praising it, and while I'm sure there are people who are also criticizing it, most people are like, wow, like, this is so 2000s coming-of-age-esque, and I'm like, well, there's a reason that music has been outdated, though. There's a reason why no one else, like, you know what I mean? I mean, it sounds like it just came right out of a chick flick, while the girls are all getting ready doing a makeover, but it's not something that I could just put on in the car, like, where I am in my life anymore.
Right.
Like, I feel like I've so matured past this. I just don't see a lot of people above the age of 20 max, but that's still pushing it, who would want to listen to music like the music she puts out, which is my criticism. I mean, Vampire was the better of the 2, but
100%.
Even that, it's just nothing extraordinary of a song. It's a good song, but it's nothing that just stands out and makes her really different from the other people in the industry. I just feel like that's a song that I can name 6 artists off the top of my head that could have released the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
For sure.
Yeah. Okay, our last topic for this video is AI, which is kind of really different from everything else we've been talking about.
A little break from pop culture.
But I thought still be good to talk about it because I feel like it was big. So specifically, let's tell our funny story from like 3 days ago.
So, we were on Twitter and we saw someone tweet about how their AI chatbot on Snapchat actually posted a story to its profile. And so we looked at it and it was like this like weird story of like a wall and ceiling, which is just kind of weird. So we went onto my Snapchat AI and I was just like, hey, how are you doing? To just see how it would respond. And it just had that little, you know how it's like in the like right above the keyboard, it has the little like Bitmoji that's like, so it was doing that for like ever. And then after about 5 minutes of that, it just was like, sorry, having technical difficulties, And then I just left it unopened, and then it chatted me by itself, saying, I'm good now, what's up? And, like, obviously not that wording, more of a Snapchat type wording. And so I replied, and I was like, oh, like, what was going on? And it did the exact same thing. So either it was bugged or something's going on, but we just thought it was weird.
Yeah, and I also was messaging with the Snapchat bot, and it was just like, being like, sorry, you can't talk right now. Sorry, you can't talk right now.
That's right. It didn't even tell her that it was having technical difficulties.
Yeah.
It literally was just like, sorry, I can't talk right now.
Yeah.
That was crazy, yeah.
We really just wanted to share that story and just how AI is so scary and is one day just going to take over the whole world.
We're a little bit fearful, not gonna lie, but we'll still use it.
We'll still use it.
I think the one other big AI thing is I'm loving all of these covers of songs by different artists that are just AI created. Like, I feel like we've gotten some really fun like looks into like what different music would be different.
For Style featuring Harry Styles. This isn't me saying I don't want it. No, I do.
I know.
But like, who made that? Because that is not what it would. There is just no universe in which Taylor and Harry would sit down and be like, she's like, okay, so at the beginning I'm gonna say that. She would never put that. Like, that's just so unrealistic. That's not what it would sound like. I don't think they would just take turns singing lines either. Like, the song is from her perspective. Like, she would change the way, like, it's structured, just like anything else she's thrown a feature onto of a song she's already released. So
yeah. No, it's 100%.
she put a lot more thought into it than that.
Yeah.
But, anyways, that kind of covers all of our topics
for this half.
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, be on the lookout for part 2 for sure.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah, and we really appreciate you watching the video.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye!
There we go.